Okay, hello, Mr. Lim. I'm basically going to be explaining both the remote and the brain, essentially the two boards that you use for the car that we made. So the remote and the brain. Now, first of all, as you can see from my little notes here, the remote kind of acts as a host for the peer board, which is the brain of the car. Now, the remote it acts as the controller for the car. And as buttons are being pressed, the signals are sent from the board to the brain of the car, which is the peer. And the peer receives those signals as struts, which I'll explain later. And essentially it connects to the points of the car. Essentially buttons are pressed and then it has these little it connects essentially. And down here essentially so this part of the board creates the definition for the data you're sending, which is this part of the code right here. And yeah, scroll down. Oh yeah, no, this is good explaining. So when we have the loops essentially, so with these loops, the void loops here, when no buttons are being pressed, the controls that the board constantly wants to send send signals to are set to false, which means they won't actually, the board or the brain, the beer, won't actually receive anything. So this is what because the message forward, back, left, and right are set to false. And the digital reads are the essentially pins that the remote reads. So it'll read certain pins, and with these certain pins, the car will send the whole signals through the wires to register that, oh, this pin and that pin are connected to this, which means when this button is pressed, it'll send it all the way to the peer, like here. As the diagram explains, and this wire is connected to this pin, and then so on and so forth. And if I scroll down here, the peer brain is, like I said, it's the brain of the car, and it receives struts, which is the little signals for it to input actions into the motors. So if the car wants to go forward, you press the button and it receives that action. And so what it does is it takes the false action and moves it to true. And you can see these other little messages here that I have that I don't think I'll actually need. But yeah, essentially what it does is when these inputs are put in, it'll turn the inputs for the movement options, so forward, back, left, and right, it'll turn them to true. Or in this case, it'll turn it to high, meaning from the motor, it'll spin the wheels a certain way with whatever motor this has been turned to. So forward, back, left, and right. I'll see if I can find it in the code here. Here, see? So digital forward, all that. What it'll do, this actually controls the way the wheels will move. So 32 and 22 move forward are just moving the wheels forward. And to move them backwards, they're moving 33 and 23, which will move the wheels backwards. And for right, it'll change the wheels to go in certain directions. Now this may look a little bit off because this is the old code. I just haven't gone around to changing it. Probably won't. And never will. But essentially, yeah, it does that. It turns them up to high, so it'll change the certain parts of the wheels and moving in them in that direction. Changing the car into that direction and stop, turn everything to low, which is what is constantly being fed through as the false signal. And if we go back up, it's kind of a little diagram for the braid. You have the Arduino, you have the other board here that it connects to. That goes onto the car, and so on and so forth. And essentially, the forward, left, back, and right are the messages that it receives via the struts. That's essentially, these messages gets turned into struts for when the inputs are actually turned into the inputs themselves. So I think I had more notes. I don't think so. I don't think so. Think so. But yeah, we also want to have the late 50 on here. it because it's counted in milliseconds. So having it delay 50 will make sure the car has practically no delay when driving in. Sure, you can notice a few inconsistencies with the old codes. But yeah, essentially that is practically everything I could talk about. And yeah, I think that's practically everything. Yeah. Oh yeah, the stuff's for booleans, that thing, and it's either true or false depending on what button's pressed on. But yeah, I think that's practically that's what I meant. It's practically everything. So yeah, that's the explanation of the code. I will change it before sending it to you. So bye.